Welcome back to the Yankee and the Brit. I'm Jay, he's Maddie, and this is our Thursday night pregame show coming to you on Wednesday.
It seems that people like our pregame shows to be the day before. It means people can catch up. They don't have to tune in immediately to get in. But then also the people who are liking it do still get the live interaction with us. So if you do like the live interaction with us, by the way, do feel free to comment. We usually throw them up on the screen and react to them pretty instantly. So yeah, feel free.
All right, we are going to go through a few games, but I figure I'm going to do it in a kind of a reverse order because there's two games I want to talk about off the bat for the same reasons. Let's start with the 49ers Eagles. Let's just get that out of here, out of the way. It was the worst officiated game I had ever watched in my fucking life. Up until that point. Because then the ref said, hold my beer and watch this. I'm going to give you Kansas City, Green Bay.
I mean, it's been, I think with the poor officiating, I think it's been a strong thing of the league all year. I think everybody's so concerned about watching their own team in the NFL that you kind of watch your own team and then you see the bad refereeing calls go against your own team and then you kind of say, oh, is that just because it's my own team and I look ridiculous? But go watch other games, watch all the primetime games, go watch other games and you will see some really bad officiating throughout the league this year. I don't want this to go down as the Eagles only lost by officiating, by the way, because they lost 42 points to 19. There was enough of that game.
With a 21-point swing by the refs.
Still would have lost. They got that beat down.
So you do the math. 2 touchdowns off the board in the first half, add a touchdown, and you're going to say the game's called the same way all the way through after that.
No, sorry. I was I was more kind of messing around. If I did the maths there, then they still would have lost the game. Due to the big point swing. There are other things that are in that Eagles game. So let's touch on your point of the poor officiating first. The game was poorly officiated. The games have been poorly officiated all the way through the year.
Eagles had the game in hand until the refs got involved.
Yeah, I mean...
You watched the game. I mean, it's the fact they were handling them until the refs got involved.
The 49ers were slow getting off the bat and then once they got into the game, The Eagles can't blame their poor tackling on the referees, though. 80%.
Every snap was a false start for the 49ers.
Yeah, they've been doing that. Does need to stop. The 49ers have been doing it all year, but if you don't call it at first, then you need to find a way to go up against it. I could say the same thing about
the pass interference
push I think is illegal
on Smith was fucking egregious. And they didn't call it at the fucking 4-yard line. Now these next two actually helped me win in fantasy, and they were still bullshit. Ayuk does not catch that in the back of the end zone. It's moving and it hits the ground, and they still give it to him. And I couldn't find a still shot of that. But if you guys want to see what happened with Kittle there, 2 holdings on one fucking
I'm not taking it. I'm not taking the Eagles holding calls. The Eagles hold all year. Right. The Eagles have been holding all year.
So wait, that's
the Eagles' offensive line holds all year. I'm not. No,
that's not 2 missed holding calls on one. You don't have to take it, but a fact's a fact if you want to.
That is a holding call. No. That's a hold. The second one. Is that the same? That's the same hold.
The same play.
Yeah.
He's just showing that he's holding both guys.
Yeah, that's a hold.
Both
100% a hold. Yeah. 2 holds on the same player. Yeah, 100% a hold. Look, you're not wrong.
That's 14 points at the end of the half that the refs gave the 49ers and took 7 points away from the Eagles by not calling that egregious tackle in midair on Smith before the ball even gets there.
Yeah, so we just can't assess any of the rest of this game because there's been poor officiating. Is that where we're at with the game? Because I agree with you. I agree with you that there was poor officiating, but we can go back through. If we went back through the Eagles games, we've had times where I've said that's a holding call, and then you've said, "Oh yeah, but they're in the game." So if you play that many close games, you're going to get holding calls going to go your way. You're going to get holding calls going
at the line, not wide on the fucking sideline when the ref's dead there staring at him. My argument is there's a hold that's going to be missed on the offensive line on almost every play. I get that. It's the rest of the shit. And the fact that they let the 49ers false start on every pass play is insane.
Yeah, that's been something that's happening all season. Yeah, the Chiefs do it. The Chiefs do it too. So I think that's been something that's happened all season, and they've decided to let that slide. So therefore, it becomes, because you can say the same about the tush push, where lots of people have complained about the tush push and said like, "Oh, that should be illegal," but the refs have said it's not illegal, so we move on.
Well, it's not illegal, so the refs can't make it illegal.
But they've said that the false start. They've said that the false start isn't a false start there throughout the whole season.
Not this week. They came out and the league admitted that there was false starts on like 13 plays in the 49ers game.
Well, they should have been like. Well, then they need to call the Chiefs for it as well. By the way,
you Cowboy fans got to stop with the hating of the tush push. You guys got to stop with
everybody hates the tush.
No, they don't.
Lots of people hates the tush push.
No, only people who get beat by the tush push complain.
No. Hang on. I'm coming much further around to the tush push now that I've realized that the only reason it works is because Jalen Hurts is in the backfield. So having watched now several other teams attempt the tush push and fail, I'm now much more on the side of the tush push. I think it's going to be made illegal next season.
See, I don't. After the league statement, I don't. I did, but now I don't.
Yeah. I'm more on the side of it being a skilled play, and Jalen Hurts should get the credit for tush push touchdowns. That's why when last week I was saying
Kelsey make that work.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Eagles should get the credit for the tush push. Like I really think they should. I'm back. See, I can change my tone, Jay, but I change throughout the season.
Well, I have to ask you. Because Maddie is a little bit in his feelings, I should give a little background on this. Over ESPN's rankings in fantasy football, and I wanted to know: are you still hurt, or did you get over that yet this morning?
Not in my feelings. I just want clarification from ESPN as to why I'm the third seed. I can't find a metric that would suggest why I'm the third seed. Basically, everybody, there's three of us that going
head-to-head schedule.
But tiebreakers, but we even all three of us even each other out on tiebreakers.
Common opponents too.
Maybe it must be on common opponents then. Okay.
Well, that makes sense. Confused on how you beat Payne Gusto and the tiebreaker is head-to-head and he's ahead of you.
Because he beat St. Louis Snipers and St. Louis Snipers beat me.
Okay.
So the three of us are all even. So I understood that. I understood why the tiebreakers, I might come off. I understood that. I understood how we all evened each other out on the tiebreakers. But then so the way that we do it in the UK, and I understand why we're not doing it in America. I'm not upset about it.
I was just kidding when I told you nobody cares how you do it in the UK. Yeah, I was just kidding.
Just want to make sure. I've outscored the other two of them by 200 points in fantasy across the year. And I know it doesn't matter, but I just think it should be an important metric, but fine, whatever.
I actually think it's a misleading metric because you have that many points and St. Louis Sniper have that many points because 90% of your team is Cowboys who have played a weak schedule and 90% of his team is the fucking Dolphins.
Yeah, but it's the teams that we put together.
Teams. Huh?
Mine only became 90% Cowboys when they were going through the weak schedule. Now that they're going into a harder schedule, like the Vikings are my defense now, for example, I might switch Tony Pollard out for James Cook at one point, like when they pay a better running.
See, you're even admitting, like, I just jumped on the stat building.
Yeah, but that's my management. That's my fantasy team management skills. But anyway.
It's not arguing the management. It's saying that because these two teams beat up on shitty teams, that's a very unfair metric to me.
It's
to
a
me.
no. It's
to
a
me.
fair. It's a
And
fair.
the only
It's a fair
reason
point.
my opinion matters is because I set up the league. So
Yeah,
you know,
and that's
and
okay. I'm more than
and
happy to bow to the league
even
admin.
and I was gonna say 3 years in, I'm not changing the rules now. Like,
No, don't. Don't. I'm more
no,
than
I get you're
happy to
not
bow to
asking.
the
I'm
league
just
admin.
saying, like, it's 3 years in. It is what it is at this point.
Can we talk about a few stat lines for the Eagles game that are like outside of refereeing, just that show a bit of a different tendency on the Eagles, because they do play games close, and there's like this was on the cards. This is their 5th game in a row where they were trailing at halftime. That's going to catch up to you eventually. Hurts was pressured on 31 dropbacks, which I think is pretty. That's a lot. That I can't think of a time where I've seen 31 dropbacks pressured in terms of stat lines. And also 80% of Purdy's yards, I think he threw for about 350. 80% of those came after the catch on missed tackles, which is just interesting set of stats there.
It's really easy to throw the ball when your whole offensive line jumps a half a second early.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's the Brock Purdy MVP chat I don't get. Vegas now having favorite to win the MVP, and I just don't get it.
Why?
He's not even the most impactful player on his team. I know it's a quarterback award and all of that, but when you look at stats like 80% of Purdy's yards are after the catch, Christian McCaffrey makes a massive difference on that team. Deebo Samuels makes a huge difference on that team. I don't think Purdy is worthy of the MVP at all.
See, and I would argue that your quarterback has to throw you open to get that many yards after the catch, too. It's not like he's Desmond Ridder who throws negative 2-yard pass that goes
definitely
90.
Yeah, definitely. But I think there's players that are more effective for their team.
So I think your league MVP right now.
I just sound biased when I say it. I would have it Dak Prescott. I don't think it'll be Dak Prescott by the end of the season.
Is your argument Dak is more important to the Cowboys than what you were saying Christian McCaffrey is to the 49ers?
Well, I would probably give it to, personally, I would actually give it to Christian McCaffrey. You're right. I would give it to Christian McCaffrey, but they would only give it to a quarterback. And I think it would be the quarterback, Dak Prescott.
They don't only. They usually. I mean, Adrian Peterson won.
When?
I mean,
I know he has
won it, and yeah.
No. I know they have, but it was a long time ago. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think the Eagles do have some weaknesses here that do need to be addressed if they're going to be a top team going forward. But the game kind of gets thrown out because of how poor the officiating was, which I agree with you on. It was a poorly officiated game, but there are you can't throw out a 42-19 loss all due to poor officiating.
It's not a 42-19 loss though if the refs don't make it a 21-point swing at a minimum.
Yeah, but there are other trends there as well of poor tackling, and their secondary's been awful all year. They're now the 31st secondary in the league in terms of yards given.
But the 49ers can't tee off on you if it's a close game either. So
I know, but they're still
the refs don't give a 21-point swing at halftime, then the Eagles don't pass as much. So then the 49ers defensive line is. So I'm just saying everything.
Hurts was getting pressured from the jump.
Hurts was doing great until the refs got involved.
He was doing great. No. Hurts was doing great.
That they could no longer run, which means that the 49ers got the tee off, which I'm saying is it wouldn't have been that if it's a close game. So the refs getting involved changed the whole course of everything that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I do think there are things that the Eagles need to address from that game, but
everybody does.
The refereeing.
But they just did. Yeah. They signed Leonard Floyd.
Again, how?
Ndamukong Suh's coming back.
I don't understand how they keep on doing this. It's incredible.
Because guys take less money to go to a team they think can win a championship.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why Floyd left the Cowboys, left Dallas and said, Thanks, Jerry, for the dinner. I'm going to go sign with the Eagles.
Just want to make it very clear. I still don't think the Cowboys are better than the Eagles or the 49ers.
Neither do the free agents. The 49ers did the same thing. I can't remember who it was. Gregory and somebody else signed with them after getting cut that other teams wanted. And they were like, hey, I'm going to go to the 49ers because I want a chance at that ring.
Yeah, we always have dinner with all of them, and then they always end up picking the 49ers or the Eagles, so you know.
That's great. Because Jerry's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I would go for a dinner with Jerry Jones even if I wasn't entertaining the offer of joining the Cowboys. You would just go just to see what happens, right? Just to see behind the wall of Jerry Jones.
What steakhouse is Jerry going to bring us to?
Yeah, do I get to go on his yacht? Do I get to go on his draft night yacht? Let's see.
All right, so let's talk about the Packers and Chiefs game a little bit before we move on to the other games. Really tight game coming down to the end, and horrible officiating. They were letting the Chiefs false start the whole game. But how the fuck do you not call this?
Oh, it's definite. It's damning pass interference.
Like, how do you not call that? Look, the ball's not even in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's damning pass interference. Yeah. I mean, I still don't think so. This is a bit different to the Eagles 49ers game where it doesn't like actually stop us from evaluating the game because the Packers outplayed the Chiefs until that point. And the Chiefs still managed to be in it because the Packers aren't very good, but the Packers did outplay the Chiefs in that game.
I need more of an explanation on that because I don't agree that they outplayed them.
Okay.
I believe that the Packers played better than they usually do, and the Chiefs played worse than they usually do, and still thought the Chiefs looked better for most of the game.
So maybe that's where that's where we're coming from here. Maybe I was just surprised as to how the Packers looked. I think Jordan Love came out and played a great game, right? 24 of 36, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns.
This isn't taking away from Love, but were you also surprised how wide open everybody was that whole game?
Yeah, 100%, which is why I think that the Chiefs weren't. I don't think the Chiefs were at it at all that evening. That's why I think I was so surprised by how bad the Chiefs looked and relatively surprised at how good Jordan Love looked. Jordan Love has played himself back into consideration, I think, which is terrible for the Packers.
Hope so.
Yeah, it's terrible for the Packers in the long term. But he has played himself back in consideration because it looked midway through the season, looked like Jordan Love is out the revolving door. He's gone. Like, Jordan Love is gone. We might see him in another team, but he's not going to be the Packers. But he started to play himself back into contention with his connection with his young wide receiver core. I think it was... I think the Chiefs played so below their par in that game, especially defensively, because they have been having to win because of their defense this year.
Yeah, they should have paid Tyrann Mathieu.
They should have paid Tyrann Mathieu. They should have...
That whole secondary is different if you have Tyrann Mathieu in that secondary.
Yeah, I still think that their secondary is... I still think that their defense is playing top 10 defense, This is the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has had overall, I think. And then their offense is poor. And I think Mahomes is... I don't know whether you can totally blame Mahomes for it. Obviously, I do think he should be taking on more of the blame than he is. 21 of 33 for 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Of 21 completions, Patrick Mahomes should be averaging more than 10 yards a completion, realistically.
And the Chiefs win that game if it wasn't for the refs.
Yes. In the same way that
they
should have won the game against the Eagles if Valdez
even
more, didn't drop the ball.
Even more because that MVS play was at the end of the game.
Yeah. No. Sorry. I was saying just like they should have beat the Eagles if he caught the ball as well. there's a lot of ifs and but yes, terrible officiating again.
If a player drops the ball, that's football. If a ref causes something, that's not football, and that's a problem.
I hate blaming the refs. I think it goes against my I don't know. In rugby, you just learn never to fucking blame the refs ever.
The refs as loud as they can right now, so the NFL does something about it.
What would you do about it? Like, what is your? I'm not saying you don't get paid to make the solution. I'm not saying you should be defending the refs or anything. I agree with you.
I'm Roger Goodell.
Wholeheartedly.
I'm Roger Goodell for a day. We make the refs full time, and we start a grading system. And you have extra refs who are training. And the second your grade goes below something, your ass gets dumped to the bench, and somebody else starts in your place, and your job is not secure anymore. And you get paid less to be on the bench than to be on the field. So if you lose your starting job, you lose money too.
Yeah, and what we have in the UK and in all of European football actually is we have so many different leagues, so refs are constantly refereeing games, and they're also full time, so they have to sit down and watch film and go to in the pre and post season they have to go to the refereeing academy, and they have to go through the different film and go through their different stuff throughout the year, and they have all of this training and all of that kind of stuff. We also have VAR, which is the referral system. All plays should be reviewable. That's the other way to do it, right? All plays should be reviewable. And it has to be the same fucking set of 5 guys that review all of the games all year, so that you get constant officiating from the same people, so it's fair. I think we hate bad officiating, right? We hate it. But if it was at least fair, you know what I mean? If that was a no call all of the time, I think I'd be fine. But you know we're going to watch the games next week, and that call is that pass interference is going to be called in that game.
And not to bounce around, but the reason that Greenlaw gets ejected from that game and Big Dom gets ejected from that game is because the players are heated over bad officiating.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree.
That was wild too. Everybody's mad at Big Dom for getting involved. Well, as security, I don't think he was too out of line. I actually think Greenlaw trying to punch him in the face was more egregious.
Yeah, I agree. I think a player punching a non-player is just obviously a player punching a player also ain't great. But as soon as you're going into non-players on the sideline, I think it then just becomes absolutely fucking ridiculous.
And then here's a weird thing. I'm just going to tell Greenlaw, if you're going to punch somebody, punch them. Don't do whatever weird shit you just did. But he made a fist and then hit him in put it out and then mushed him in the face with it. It was so weird. It was so weird.
If you're gonna hit somebody, then fucking hit somebody.
Yeah, either do it or don't. Choose which one you're gonna do.
Yeah, but I would agree with you. That's the way that I would fix the problem of the refereeing. There needs to be more grading system. There also needs to be way more young blood in the refereeing game. Everybody's fucking 40, 50 and older.
They should incentivize ex-players to want to be refs too.
Yeah, they need to be closer to the game as well. I think you also have the thing of so many refs that it becomes somebody else's job. Your call then becomes somebody else's job, and they're getting mixed up a little bit in the jobs. You don't need. I personally don't think you need all of the refs that they've got on the field. If you're going to go to using, as they should go to using more video replay, then you can halve the amount of refs on the field, and then everybody just is more focused on their one job. They're not relying on anybody else.
I think if they'd add one more midfield judge, you'd have less of these misses in calls.
I think, I guess that would be the debate. I think the answer is more video replays, and then you have less refs. But
I think the answer is all of them. More videos, more refs, more training, grading, downgrades, fucking losing money
You have to go coach in the like. They shouldn't sit on the bench. They should just have to go referee in the CFL or college football, and you make your way. You make your way up through the leagues, right? So you make your way up through the ranks. You go from pee wee football, high school football, up to like you have to do a certain amount of hours in each one, right? And go through things that way. So you do pee wee football, high school football, college football, CFL, XFL, NFL, and do it that way, and you get downgraded and upgraded throughout that stuff. I also don't understand this whole idea of super teams when we get into the playoffs, and also changing the fucking rules of the game when you're in the playoffs. Like just play the playoff rules all the way through the season.
What do you mean?
So like they tend to like change the like people are allowed to play more, and like you're allowed more hands-on stuff, and they let them play is what they call it a bit more.
Yeah,
when
it's faster and more aggressive in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I think you should just keep that all the way through the season. If you're going to do it, then just have that rules all the way through the season. But yeah.
All right, I hate the fucking refs. That's all I know at this point.
I hate to blame refs, but they're making it very hard to stand up for them.
And then let's talk some Lions Saints. The Lions jump out to a 21-point lead. The Saints come back. Saints are about to win that game, and once again, Derek Carr goes down.
It's an interesting injury history that Derek Carr is now amassing, because I never think of him as injury prone.
No, this year has been bad, and this isn't like I don't know how many concussions you can stack on top of one another either.
You shouldn't have more than 4 in a year, I'm pretty sure, and then you're done, right?
Well, the NFL has no rules, though, set rules for that. So,
well, okay. Well, in rugby, it's 4, and then you're done. Then you're done. You have to sit out the next year as well. Like if you get 4 in a year.
Can you remember? I don't remember what game I was watching. Oh, the Texans game. So this is in the reverse. C.J. Stroud takes a shot to the chest, gets up slow. The ref comes and tells him he has to go off the field because of a head, and he's like, "It's my chest," and then he has to go up the field and get looked at in the middle of a drive before he can come back into the game. If the fucking player tells you it's his chest and the replay shows that he got hit in the chest, how come the upstairs can't just ring down into his ear and go, no, it's the chest?
Yeah, that's what it needed to be. If the player says it's his chest, I'm not trusting any players, especially quarterbacks, to come off the field.
Okay, but they are grown-ass men, so to try to force them to come off the field is
no, you've got to look after them. You've got to look after them because they're in the headspace of. It's like if a kid is like playing for a fucking broken femur.
That is very anti-American, by the way, that statement, though.
So's the draft.
I don't need anybody to look after me. I am a grown-ass adult. Yeah. I make my own decisions. I make my own health. And that's a big thing in America. I have the right to make every one of my own health decisions, except if I have a vagina or I play football.
I think with the... Not going to get... Fucking too political, Jay. Jesus. Fucking hell. I think it is important to look after all sports professionals. I think it's important to look after everybody. Like, if you know, in the UK, I'm not saying like you go around the UK and you fucking like force people to go see the hospital in the streets, but like it's very common. And the drive that you have, like as a football player that got you to this position and as a professional athlete, is that never give up attitude. And you just think, hey man, your brain's more important than these 2 plays. So I would need the call from upstairs personally to say, oh yeah, he's got hit in the chest, he's fine to go on, than just listening to the player.
I have a problem with it because you're another 2 reasons. Well, one, again, back to I'm grown, and if I tell you I'm fine, then that's me. Second, you put the players' injuries out for everybody. If CBS or Fox put out anything about my medical information,
that's weird.
I can sue the fuck out of them.
Yeah, that's weird. I always
So
think
the
that's really
injury
strange.
report in itself is crazy.
Yeah, I always think it's so strange how we get injury reports and like I think it's important that we know when, especially when there's betting involved, it becomes a bit weird. I think it's important you know that they have an injury and that they're not going to be playing. I don't need to know what it is.
Hockey,
Like, you know what I mean?
hockey just goes lower body injury, upper body injury. That's
Yeah,
it. That's all the
yeah.
NHL
Like
does.
I don't need to know what it is. There's no reason for me to know what it is. That's their business all the way through. And realistically, you're costing that player money by telling all the owners what their injury is quite a lot of the time. As well. But obviously the owners pay for the doctors and everything, so
But
it's
okay,
just, oh, it's a mess.
as we
But
digress, the
yeah.
fucking Lions are the same old Lions. Even though they won that game, it's the same old Lions.
Yeah, the Lions do everything that they can to not play. I've been saying this now. I'm quite attached to this take that I've got where the Lions just can't play as favorites in a game. They keep on thinking that they're underdogs when it's like, Lions, you're a better team than this. You have better players than the Saints. They're a better football team than the Saints. And the only part of it is that they keep on like playing as underdogs, throwing games away. It's not good, especially when you go 21 points up. I remember thinking like, oh, Lions 21 points up, like Lions are playing good football again. Here they go. Like they'll make a run now. They're back on track after a few poor performances. Watch out for the Lions. And then they did everything they could to give that game away, giving up. They scored 21 points in the first, and then they scored 3, 6, 12 points
12
in the
points.
next three quarters. 12 points in the next three quarters, where they gave up 7 in the second quarter, 14 in the third, and 4 in the fourth, including Jameis Winston having to come on and play football for a while for the Saints.
Can they stop? I don't get that either. Why are you playing Jameis Winston? Like, he has proven that he is not a good quarterback, and he's not in this game, but he is a turnover machine. He only had 2 completions in this game. Taysom Hill already looked better than what Jameis Winston did with the plays you had him in there. Why isn't Taysom Hill in the game? Why are you not running an RPO offense with Taysom Hill?
I don't understand why they haven't got Taysom Hill as quarterback. Jameis Winston's a funny one because I do think if you have Jameis Winston as a backup quarterback, then you do have a guy who can come on and make things happen and win you games. I'd rather not have Jameis Winston coming off the bench weirdly. I'd rather him starting. You know, yeah. If like Derek Carr's injured, that like now Derek Carr's injured going into the next few games, I would start Jameson Winston because I think he's better as a starter when the game plan is predicated around him and everything like that. I don't think he's good to come off as a backup because he's going to throw the fucking ball away. And that's just the one thing that you don't want the backup to do. Taysom Hill also looks great as a quarterback in terms of like the physical ability he gives you. The Saints are not a dynamic offensive team, but when they've got Taysom Hill back there, they then become dynamic. So their red zone solution, they were terrible in red zone offense at the start of the year. Their red zone solution, Taysom Hill, get him in there and he becomes your red zone solution. So I don't understand why he then doesn't become your backup quarterback in game.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like Derek Carr gets hurt at the worst possible times for the Saints this year too.
Yeah, 17 of 22 as well, 226 yards, pretty impressive. What have Lions fans been like after this game?
Oh, I stopped listening to Lions fans before the year. They think they're the greatest team in the history of the NFL and that they're going to win 7 Super Bowls in a row.
Yeah,
really sick of a team who hasn't even been to the fucking playoffs in 30 years, just yapping.
Yeah, maybe not the team to listen to. I've seen what's been said in the chat on the side as well.
It's wild that they think that they're the next whatever, but Well, there you
Am
go,
I
Maddie. We
frozen
have
on
a
your
prediction.
screen?
Yeah, you've been a little
Frozen doing
freezing
the.
in and out for a second, but
All right, I'm freezing doing the cheesiest smile on my screen at the moment. It's just a very, very strange thing to freeze as. Um, yeah, I don't
Montana's
think the
got a
Eagles.
message for you.
I don't think the Eagles are going to hold the Cowboys to 7 points. I we'll talk more on Saturday, sorry, as to whether the Cowboys can beat the Eagles and what the spreads are going to be and everything. So tune into that show. I don't see the Eagles only holding the Cowboys to 7 points. I don't see us only holding the Eagles to 28 though either, which is the bigger problem there.
Yeah, if you stop your camera and turn it back on, it probably fixes the issue.
Yeah, hopefully, because that is the cheesiest. No, all right, I'm going to leave and come back. I'll be back.
He'll be back. All right. Well, I don't think that the Cowboys can beat the Eagles this weekend, but we'll see what happens. I think that the Lions are the same old Lions, that they're not as good as everybody has been bragging them up to be, and that they really are benefiting from a weak division. And it's really weak since Kirk Cousins went down, and now it's fucking Josh Dobbs. Don't get me. Why are we fucking playing Josh? Well, that's a whole nother
It's a whole nother
argument.
show.
Put Dobby on the bench. Stop letting him fucking play. And we've proven that he's nothing but a backup. So it is what it is. Maddie's got frozen again and tried to dip off the screen.
Was just going. Yeah, this camera is just not being my friend right now. Let's Anyway, let's go on to the next game.
Wait, were you just doing blackface?
I don't think so.
I'm kidding because your screen went black and okay, bad joke. All right. I'm gonna get Maddie canceled for something he didn't even do.
God, not again.
All right. Some Broncos Texans, talk a little bit about that. I like what the Texans are doing. CJ Stroud, if anything, he could be in talks for the MVP. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of but look, I don't think he is going to be the MVP. I think he possibly is the most important player to his team playing well. The difference for them this year has been they have CJ Stroud. As much as you like Davis Mills, the difference is they have CJ Stroud and they had Tank Dell.
They don't go by the most valuable player anyway, because the truth is, I think Kirk Cousins proved he's the most valuable player to the Vikings by not being there. And you can't give a guy on the sideline MVP, or you could argue that Aaron Rodgers is the most valuable player for the Jets because we see how fucking awful they are without him. You know what I mean? And that's not how that works. So I don't think it's ever the most valuable player. I think it's usually the best player on the best team.
The best quarterback usually, but yes. No, I agree with you. That is who they go for. I don't think CJ Stroud is the best player like in the NFL this year. I do like CJ Stroud, and I like what the Texans have got in CJ Stroud as well. It was a shame that Tank Dell went down this week. I think that was a sad thing to watch because it was good to watch a third round rookie making it big in the NFL this year and making a big difference. And I'm not sure why he was there on that play. I really don't understand why he was in that position at all. It doesn't seem like the place to have Tank Dell in the melee for them at that point.
Yeah, but he's not your number one receiver, so you got to play on special teams and in different, areas of the field. And everybody could have, would have, should have, could have themselves to death.
Yeah.
But he's been doing it all year, and then all of a sudden there's an injury, so now you get second guessed. And
yeah, I don't know about having him. And no, I know what you mean. It's just having him that close to the action on a blocking play because I'm just not sure what good Tank Dell is doing there either. Like that's the other part of it. I don't see him as a blocking wide receiver.
Yeah, Jordan Addison's pretty small, and he's one of the Vikings' better blocking wide
Yeah,
receivers. So
that's fair.
and you remember
Russell
Hines
Wilson.
Ward? Hines Ward, they made rules because he was knocking motherfuckers out from the receiver position. So, like, I get what you mean, but I'm just saying it's something that's happened all year. And when you're not the number one at your position on a team, you got to play other positions and do the dirty work.
Yeah. Russell Wilson isn't Seattle Russell Wilson, by the way, everybody. Just letting you know.
He is.
But that doesn't mean he's.
He is. He's the last 2 years he was in Seattle, Russell Wilson.
The last 2 years. Yeah, fair enough. I don't think that's what people were saying about him when they were saying that. With Russell Wilson, they've started playing better defense, realistically, is why the Broncos are better. But basically, Russell Wilson wasn't as bad as everybody was saying he was at the start of the year when the Broncos are losing. He's also not as good as everybody was saying he was during their 4-game win streak that they've just had. And I think the Texans game might have cooled everybody off on Russell Wilson a little bit, but let's not go too far the other way to say now he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL and all of this kind of stuff, because he's still, with the injuries and everything, especially right now, he's cusp top 10, like with the injuries. Think of how many injured quarterbacks there are.
I would hate to have Russell Wilson as my starting quarterback, and that's coming from a Badger fan.
Yeah, I think he is a starting quarterback, though. I just like
even with the Badger fan, I wouldn't. Yeah,
is it the money that makes you not want him to start, or is it just you think if you have him there, then you need an upgrade?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe a bit of both. If he was cheap, at least, then you might be like, okay.
All right, so let's move on to talk about how the Browns are dead and Matthew Stafford went the fuck off.
Yeah, I mean the Rams are a fucking good football team, by the way, everybody. Like, FYI.
I'm looking at the stats, and I would have thought Stafford had a bigger day because of how many fantasy points he put up.
Yeah.
He had 279 for 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, there he is.
I'm pretty sure he had 26 points on my bench in fantasy last week.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's going to be 3 touchdowns is going to get you a lot of points in fantasy, especially with no interceptions.
Flacco didn't play that bad, though, for not playing in a long time.
Yeah, I heard something interesting. Sam Motson said that it looked like Flacco had too much rest. His arm was too active. He was playing as if his arm was the arm that he had at the Jets, where it had basically fallen off. And now he's had a little bit of rest. He's got back to having a bit more activity in his arm. So he was overthrowing people a bit early, which I thought was quite a funny comment. Flacco didn't look too bad.
That's the same Sam Munson who told me that was the no winners in that Hawkinson trade.
TJ Hawkinson trade was a push. Yeah, that's the guy. He's Irish, Sam Munson.
So he's drunk all the time.
Well, I meant he's from closer to me, but yeah, sure.
I couldn't help myself. That was the easy Irish tee for the joke. You teed that up too easily.
Kyren Williams is a great find for the Rams, because I was thinking at the start of the season, I've been watching Kyren Williams because I picked him up like last pick of the draft, because last pick of our fantasy draft, because your last pick in a 14-team deep fantasy draft is just a nobody. So you just pick up who you can get. And it was a very lucky pickup by me. Let's just have it that way. But when he went onto IR for 4 weeks, I was thinking, right, is it going to be Kyren Williams? Is it going to be just Sean McVay's got an excellent offense? And I think it's a bit of both, because they did have Darrell Henderson Jr. was scoring 10 points on fantasy average in a week. He was getting like 40 to 60 yards a game, like very solid running back stats. But then Kyron Williams in that offense makes the offense look like a bit of a different animal. He looks excellent. He averaged 4.2 yards a carry. He usually gets some yards out of the backfield as well. He had 24 yards on 3 receptions as well. I think Kyron Williams is an excellent find for them, alongside Puka Nacua, alongside Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, with Matthew Stafford looking like his arm is fine. There's nothing not to like about this Rams team, considering this is meant to be a rebuild for them.
Yeah, and I don't want to pile on the kid because he's got nothing to do with this week, but I know that Stetson Bennett was supposed to be their future. But I don't think that kid's ever coming back to the NFL. So you guys better go figure out who's going to take the reins after Stafford's gone again.
I haven't seen what's happened with Stetson Bennett.
Oh, a couple of weeks ago, they left the team probably a month now or more for personal reasons, and then I read he's in rehab.
Oh, no. Okay. That's sad.
No, but, and you're a 25-year-old
he's got the help.
Quarterback. Like, I don't see you coming back to the NFL. Yeah. So I think that they got to start planning for after Stafford because, and this is what my point I was getting at as I drawn long-winded on that. Stafford looks really good sometimes, and sometimes Stafford looks like it's at the end of his career.
Yes. It's his arm. Like, sometimes his arm is fine, and sometimes it looks like it's about to fall off. It's an interesting dichotomy to have. But what they've done is in this weird rebuilding time where they're still 6. Also, does this mean the Cowboys get to claim they've beaten 2 teams at 500 now, or does it only count when we played them at the time? Because we beat the Rams.
Technically, I think people mean when you play them at the time, but I like when they argue that online. But that does it fucking matter? Does it?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was interested in what you.
I would actually argue that, and this is just me personally. If we're going to use that, how many teams over 500 did you beat? Then it should be the finals record.
It has to be the final record.
For me, I mean, like at the end of the year.
Because otherwise, there's also the fact that they played the Giants second week, and the Giants were 1-0. Oh no, the Jets were 1-0, and they played the Jets the second week. So then they beat 2 teams over 500 because they beat the Jets when the Jets were 1-0. But it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous fucking stat anyway. The whole thing. But then when stat.
Was it who did you guys play that they were just talking about? Was it the Seahawks? Right? But then once you beat the Seahawks, they're 500.
They're 500. Yeah, they're 500 because the Cowboys beat them. It's all a ridiculous stat. But yes, the Rams look. The Rams in their weird rebuilding year where we all thought they were going to look terrible and fall off a cliff, look good, and they've found a lot of good pieces. Where as long as Matthew Stafford's okay, then that's fine. But I would be drafting a quarterback in the first round of the draft.
All right. Well, we watched the Bengals upset the Jags with 2 backup quarterbacks playing by the time that game was over.
Yeah, but they fucking upset the Jags. Jake Brownling. Wow. What did he throw for? 325 yards?
354, but the crazy thing is, and I know he was throwing short passes. I think the longest pass he threw in the first half was like 8 yards, but he only had 5 incompletions on the whole game.
Yeah, 32 of 37, 5 incompletions. Jamar Chase, wow, 100.
Well, speaking of Chase, I went and picked me up a little Chase Brown in the waiver wire.
Nice. I'm happy with my team.
Well, I'm in a weird spot. I got to win, and I need Duffy to lose. Or I think if Death Doorstep loses, I make the playoffs too. So I need one of them 2 to lose, and I need to win.
I play sorry, Duffy is the most unlucky guy in all of fantasy for us
Well, I
this
hope
year.
that continues.
Yeah, the most unlucky. It's unfortunate. If you're on here, Duffy, because I know you sometimes watch
I
it,
went
and
to
I
bed thinking he
feel
won
sorry
that
for you,
game.
man.
I
Yeah,
woke
I
up
think
to
he's.
Moose commenting that he had lost, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah. If you, by the way, guys, we do a fantasy league every year, and if you want to take part in it, then just message us, and it becomes big and fun, and we have chat loads of shit in the group chat, and it also means we get to analyze your kind of football teams on the show. So if you regularly watch the show and would like to be a part of it, then drop us a message, and we'll next year when we're doing it next year. All right, go into an even bigger league. Can we do bigger than 14 teams?
Well, what we
Feels like
could
too
do
many.
is we could always do 2 different leagues and then have a championship game between the
Yeah,
2
that's what I
leagues.
think. Yeah, that's what I think might be the way to go. Eh? Um, yeah, Jake Brownlee looked great. I mean, he played a. You're right. He played a very conservative game, and but he did what he needed to do. Right, like that's exactly. He did exactly what he needed to do, which was to just throw it to his open guys because the Bengals have playmakers. I still think they're written off. Like they're not. This is an
Tyler
anomaly
Boyd was
rather
the
than a.
Tyler Boyd was the only one to throw an interception for the Bengals, and if that wasn't the worst throwback across the field that I had ever seen, it looked like he threw it right to the defender.
Yeah. Bengals at 6-6, so they could still make it to the playoffs if they keep playing like that. I don't personally think they're going to do it. What do you think of the Jags in that game?
I think without Trevor Lawrence, they're fucked. That's what I think.
Yeah, do we know? I saw it's a high it's an ankle sprain not requiring surgery. Do we know how long he's out for?
They I didn't hear anything as of today. But with those high ankle sprains, a lot of times you're not playing the next week.
Yeah, you usually have a couple of weeks for a high ankle sprain. I mean, we say they're fucked. I would have to agree, but CJ Beathard, 9 of 10, 63 yards, and they threw one incompletion. That's not too bad. When you've got Travis Etienne, as long as Trevor Lawrence is back in a couple of weeks, I still think the Jags are fine for making the playoffs. They should have been the much better team on that night, and they didn't get out of head before Trevor Lawrence goes down, and they let the Bengals hang around, which is what ruined them for that game. And the Jags are another team like the Lions, where is it becoming a cultural issue where you haven't won over so many years that then you struggle to see yourselves as the favorites in a game? You're always trying to be the underdogs.
I don't know. I know that fuck, who are they? I gotta look here. I was gonna say they have a good chance of rebounding this week, the Jags, because they play the Browns, who have not looked great, even with Deshaun Watson, and then with Myles Garrett injury, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. I think their defense is kind of packed in the ghost a little bit because they think, what's the fucking point?
Right. Yeah. It's almost like they feel like they've hit so many problems. It's 1, 2, 3 Cancun. They're all thinking about the off
Yeah,
season.
yeah, it's time to go home if you're the Browns, really.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just thinking, just another team that reminds me of that really quickly before we go on to one more game is the New England Patriots versus the Chargers. What was that? 6-0? 6-0?
Yeah, well,
6-0
and then
to the
that's our
Chargers.
Thursday game is the Patriots at the Steelers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 6-0. The Patriots have now, if you give me 1 second, I believe the Patriots have now played 3 games in a row where they've given up less than 20
Yeah,
and have
and still
lost every
lost.
game.
Yeah.
I don't really know what you do if you're the Patriots in that situation.
So what do you do with this Patriots Steelers game? If the Patriots are 6-point dogs going into Pittsburgh, here's the crazy thing: the over under is 30 in an NFL game.
Yeah. just to put that stat quickly into perspective, the Patriots haven't given up more than 10 points in the last 3 games and still lost every game. They've given across 3 games, they've given up 26 points in 3 games and still haven't won a game in those 3. The under over is 30. Is Kenny Pickett's out, right? Kenny Pickett's done for the season.
Yeah.
Well, if we could quickly just go to that Cards Steelers game as well. We may as well talk about them both, just because we've got them both on the pitch. Is Kenny Pickett better than we're giving him credit for? Because Mitch Trubisky looked terrible.
No, Kenny Pickett's
when
awful.
he came in. Mitch Trubisky is just that bad.
And I would still rather have Mitch Trubisky when he's starting for like the whole week in training and not coming off of fucking throwing in there than Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is maybe the worst starting quarterback who is not starting because of an injury.
I think you might be right. Yeah, I think you might be right. You might be able to.
Zach Wilson, was worse, but that was because Aaron Rodgers went down. But you could argue Zach Wilson was their starter. There's not many guys worse than Kenny Pickett in the league that aren't playing if it wasn't for an injury.
Just trying to run through some of the teams here, or maybe ones that I wouldn't want in front of it, because Bryce Young hasn't looked great, but Bryce Young's also playing for the shitty Panthers and is a rookie. So you have that as well. So yes, I would say that Kenny Pickett is like Anthony Richardson as well. Like Anthony Richardson doesn't look great, but he's also a freak and a rookie.
And he looks better than Kenny Pickett in the games he played.
Yeah, maybe actually throwing
the ball. He was throwing for close to 300 yards and running, and I came on this show and said I might be wrong about Anthony Richardson.
So I semi-like Kenny Pickett, but I only think I like Kenny Pickett because of I think he should be a backup quarterback. I think he'd be the best backup quarterback in the league, Kenny Pickett, because I think he's, apart from maybe Mac Jones. Hang on, Kenny Pickett or Mac Jones?
I'd take Mac Jones in a heartbeat, but
I'd take Mac Jones in a heartbeat as well. I think you're right there as well. Yes, I don't think Kenny Pickett's great. I think the Steelers got all excited last week because they won a game when Matt Canada wasn't there, because they thought their offense looked exciting. But let's remember they only scored 17 points. Kyler Murray to Trey McBride is starting to look like a good combo. And James Conner is a good piece for the Cardinals. So I think the Cardinals do have something there. I'm not really sure what I do with Kyler Murray as the Cardinals. I think I maybe trade him away anyway and draft a quarterback and see what happens and go where I'm from there. The Patriots don't get anything going on offense. At least the Steelers look semi-lively on offense at times.
So here's what it tells you about Kenny Pickett. The Steelers say, I was just reading it, that they're going to be more aggressive with Mitch Trubisky come Thursday.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to fucking come out and say about your quarterback. That's just,
which means you trust Mitch Trubisky more to be aggressive than you do Kenny Pickett.
What was the spread on this? Sorry.
6.
6 and the over-under is 30.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Oh shit. Give me the Patriots and the under on that one. I don't think. Points. Yeah, give me the Patriots with the points. Yeah, give me the Steelers to win the game. I think the Steelers will win by 3.
Give me the Steelers -6. George Pickens with a new quarterback, 2 touchdowns, 80 yards,
and then that's enough.
Yep. Yeah,
that's enough. 14 points. That's all you need to score on.
Yeah, he's gonna have like 80 yards. It's not gonna be over 100, but he's gonna have like 80 yards and 2 tuds, I think, because I don't think Mitch Trubisky is gonna be scared to just be like, let's 50-50 it to George Pickens and let him go.
Yeah, throw underneath to Pat Fryermuth, by the way. Throw underneath to Pat Fryermuth and throw over the top to George Pickens, and that is a good tight end wide receiver combo. I do think the Patriots will put him on him a little bit in defense, obviously, but you just, what are the Patriots going to score more than 14 in this game? I mean, we'll see.
No, and who do we like? Or is it the Zappy era continue? Is that what we're doing? Because
hopefully not. I mean, that would make no sense to me because Mac Jones is better than Bailey Zappi.
Does it make sense in the fact that you lose and you could end up with the first overall pick?
Well, that would be it, wouldn't it? But I think they lose with Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. Like, it's more than a quarterback issue in New England.
And I don't think Bill Belichick's going to be there, so I don't think he really gives a fuck about having the first overall pick for New England.
Yeah, maybe he just wants to destroy Mac Jones, though, just because he doesn't like him.
Yeah, he might be that petty. He really might be that.
Yeah. He just... Mac Jones spoke out against me one time, and therefore I'm going to destroy his entire mental health.
Like, I feel like I'm up there with the Kings of Petty, and Bill Belichick got me smashed when it comes to the Kings of Petty.
Yeah, but Bill Belichick might be one of the
I don't find myself a petty person. I find myself a person who really finds petty people enjoyably comical. Like, I love how petty 50 Cent is. I love that him and Ja Rule hate each other, so he bought the first 200 tickets. So Ja Rule had, in his return to hip hop, had to rap in front of an empty 200 seats. I find that hilarious. I think Eminem not letting MGK into Shady Records to do an interview was fucking hilarious. But Bill Belichick takes petty to a whole new level.
Who is it who told 50 Cent if he could read a page of Harry Potter, he'd give him like $1 million?
No, was that what it was? Yeah, 50 Cent told, who did he say that to? Fuck, it was 50 saying it to somebody else, and I can't remember who it was. But that shit was funny. But the best diss ever, maybe just in one line, is when he was performing with Jay-Z, and Jay-Z walks out on stage right after 50 Cent and says, "Fuck 50 Cent, I'm all about dollar bills."
Bars.
Well, the 50 Cent said that Jay-Z walked past him on the way up to the stage and goes, "You know I got to get you," and walked out there and dropped that line. So that's even better, but I enjoy a good petty, but Bill Belichick is something.
Bill Belichick is something else. And I think he's doing it to his own quarterback. So that's great. That's a really good environment up there.
So let me ask you something quick before we get out of here. This was brought up today by Darius Butler. I was watching this right before we came on the show. And he was talking and praising Brock Purdy. And he was saying Brock Purdy could win 2 Super Bowls and he still won't get the respect he deserves because he was Mr. Irrelevant. And he said, look at Brady. Brady had to go win one in Tampa Bay for the haters to finally realize that he was the GOAT. And I'm like, there is something to that, because he's like, if Brock Purdy was the 3rd pick overall in the draft, we'd be praising him and he would be league MVP without a question.
I don't know, because Mac Jones was the 1st overall pick, right? And if Mac Jones was doing this in the 49ers, I still think he'd be getting the same chat as Brock Purdy.
I think because he was a 1st round pick, even though it was like 15th or whatever, I think he'd be getting the love that Purdy's not for doing what he's doing. I don't know about MVP, but I think there's something to what Darius Butler is saying about them not giving him his respect.
So where you just said the MVP there, that's why I think it feels like he's not getting as much respect. Because for me, I respect Brock Purdy, and I think he's probably a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Like, if I was to write a list,
especially
I would struggle
right now,
to put
with all the injuries.
Yeah,
if I was writing a list, 5 with all the injuries.
Yeah, if I was writing a list, I would struggle to write one out without serious consideration of putting Brock Purdy in the top 10. Like, he's in that weird thing of like top 10.
Just quickly off the top of my head,
with the injuries.
You have Lamar.
Yeah. Are we counting non-injured now?
Only the people who are playing. So leave the injured people out.
He's definitely top 10 if it's
right, but I'm saying he's close to top 5 now, right? With the injuries, because I'm just guessing, Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes,
Jalen Hurts.
Okay. Dak. Maybe Stafford. Maybe Goff, but not lately.
Herbert, maybe.
Yeah,
in
he's on
terms
such
of
a
actual
bad
talent.
fucking team. It's hard to, you know what I
It's hard
mean?
to evaluate her. But Tua, like, do you give
Oh yeah,
Tua the credit of
Tua's
Brock
better.
Purdy?
Tua's better. Yeah.
But like, yeah, so borderline, he's definitely top 10, borderline top 5 right
Yeah,
now
it's
with the injured
crazy.
players.
There's so many
Yeah.
injuries though to top
Yeah.
quarterbacks.
Yeah. So with the Brock Purdy thing, just to finish that off, it's people are either saying he's MVP, best player in the league, or he's shit because he's Mr. Irrelevant. So that's where I think he's different to like the Tom Brady analysis, because I don't think towards the end of Tom Brady's time in New England, anybody was saying that he's not a great quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback.
There
And Bill
was
Belichick,
people who were like, he's a system quarterback. He's only winning because of Belichick.
there were people who were saying like the argument was, is Tom Brady the best of all time? And it's like, well, Bill Belichick is a big part of him doing that. And then he goes to Tampa and you go, okay, maybe he is the best of all time.
And Brady had 2 Super Bowls and still wasn't getting the credit for being as good as he was.
Yeah. So I think with Brock Purdy, I think if you shoot down the middle of what people are saying, he gets very rightly evaluated. However, with the NFL being the way the NFL is and the shouty shows that exist out there, you have to either say he's the MVP of the entire league or he's the worst quarterback you've ever seen. You can't just say, yeah, Brock Purdy is an excellent quarterback. What would be interesting is if you put Mac Jones in the 49ers, do we get Brock Purdy still? Like, do we still get those numbers that Brock Purdy's putting up with Mac Jones there?
Now I don't know, but see, that's again, you can ruin a quarterback, and Belichick may have ruined Mac Jones.
Yeah, Brock Purdy's more mobile than we give him credit for, and Mac Jones isn't. I think would be the one place where I'd go like, okay, like yeah, fair. I'll give that to Brock Purdy.
All right. Well, we did it. We made it through another episode. This is our Thursday night football episode coming to you on Wednesday. So run up those numbers, hit the like and subscribe, all that other good shit. And if you were looking for MMA Underground, we were off this week because I had some stuff going on. It was my wife's birthday, but we will be back next week with a great episode. So make sure you check that out too.
Yeah. It's good to see you guys all again. It's much easier to do these shows from the UK in terms of time zone differences. Even though in Vietnam it's like weirdly okay, but it's just impossible to watch football in Vietnam is the issue because the time side's on.
Yeah, that was that. I'm looking at the clock sometimes when we're texting and going, like, man, it's like fucking weird time for you over there right now. Like, yeah. Because when we first started doing it, it was a 12-hour difference, but by the time you left, it was a 13-hour difference.
Yeah. So it was like, doing the shows was fine. Watching the actual football games, that was a genuine trial.
Yeah, Maddie was on a train watching football.
It was a trial of a love of the game. Yeah, I was on a sleeper train going through some rice fields watching fucking football. The amount of money that I've had to pay on data so I can watch fucking football is pretty wild.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about having to pay for the All right, guys. We'll be back with a new episode on Sunday. I hope you guys all enjoy. Keep following us for more picks. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.